The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corporation.
To the mellow tunes of Metallica. It is August 1st, first month of August. It's years flying by. It is 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. That means it's time for another installment of the Southern Nevada Sports News, coming to you from the Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corp.com studios in Las Vegas, Nevada. My name is Bill Miller, co-host, along with
Jeff Belknap.
And we are fortunate to have friend of Southern Nevada Sports News once again in the studio, the Ohio man himself, Brett Price of Findlay Prep. How you doing?
Good. How's everything?
All right. And I'm doing great, man. Thanks for taking time to come back in.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, we ran into each other briefly last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of a handshake, and see you. Hopefully, see you on Monday, and here you are.
Definitely.
Yep.
Thank you, man. And on the phone with us, coming back this time, he's back home. Thank God. The prognosticator himself, the man from Cleveland, Jorge Mish. George, how you doing, buddy?
Good, very good. Feeling well.
I'm glad to hear that, man. And again, thank you for for taking that call in the hospital last week.
Nurses had more fun than I did.
Well, we really appreciate you doing it, man. I mean, I know you weren't feeling too well, but I'm glad that you're feeling better. I'm glad you're finally back at home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so, folks, tonight, this is going to be our first show of the summer, and we are going to be discussing the NCAA football predictions. Believe it or not, the season is going to be here, is rapidly approaching.
Yep.
Along with, of course, I think most of the NFL teams went to camp today, starting last week with some of the rookies, and the veterans are finally there. But this is going to be NCAA football predictions. George and Brett and Jeff, they've been working their predictions, their pages. George is a huge Phil Steele fan, and so I guess we all are.
Yep.
And we're going to get a lot more closer to that as we progress. But this is it's getting exciting, and I think the first game, NCAA football game, is like 30 days away, less than 30 days.
Yep.
I believe it's 1 month from today, if it's
That's
not
right.
on a Thursday, but there may have snuck in a Wednesday, but I know they're on September 1st.
Yeah. But so anyway, this is an opportunity for you. I hope you're taking notes. These are predictions, and then we will obviously see how these pan out over the year. But George, needless to say, we'd like for you to start us out and pick a conference that you would like to start with. And I think that when we spoke last week, mentioned that let's go with the power conferences for now. Which one would you like to start with?
I'd start with the best one, the SEC. Get that out of the way.
Okay, the SEC. All right. Did Jeff kind of you give me a little
Well, he said best conference. I'm trying to figure out how the SEC is the best, but
Well, who is it?
Big Ten. Come on.
The what?
The Big Ten.
They're so down this year that never mind. They're so down, it's ridiculous. They're not even. They're like fourth or fifth in the thing. These teams are terrible this year. Next year, different story.
I'd have to agree with you, George, on the SEC on that one.
Yeah.
SEC's pretty loaded this year again, especially the West, and the East has got a few teams that are probably going to challenge them a little bit with Tennessee and Florida and Georgia, the usuals, and then got some bottom dwellers, with your South
As
Carolinas
usual.
and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So,
there's always going to be those bottom
Yeah.
feeders. But again, conference, I think team to team, it is still one of the gold standard as far as college football is concerned. George, you want to start with the SEC West and then work our way east?
Whatever you want, my friend.
All right.
The one thing I saw, and this is once again, this is a temporary situation here. This is my first look at the SEC. I'm sorry, it's still a month away, but now if you would ask me the Sun Belt tonight, I could have done this for about 2.5 hours, and you'd have nobody listening. But anyway,
I would listen.
I know you would because you like money.
Yes.
Okay, but the biggest thing to me about the SEC is that there's really only Mississippi right now has a great quarterback. Kelly is the quarterback. So
Yeah.
I still believe Alabama, they have 15 players that Steele ranks in his top, a couple hundred. the big problem with Alabama, and I've looked up 14 websites that I don't know if you guys know, there's 2 linemen that are suspended right now and facing felonies. Taylor and Robinson, I believe their names are, and they're both studs. I don't know if, Saban, being from Michigan State, will probably let him play the whole year. But that's big as far as if these guys are going to play or not. But I still believe they're the best team in that league right now.
Yeah, I believe Alabama's probably, they gotta be the pick in the West, just strictly on the past, what they did last year. But their defense could be this year better than any defense they've had in a while, and that's saying something
that's
for
scary.
Alabama.
Yeah, that
it's
is
very
saying
scary. Offensively, skill wise, they're breaking in another new quarterback. Missing some running back, breaking in some running backs, some wide receivers. They still got a few good athletes out at the wideouts, and then one of their key losses, I think, offensively is their center Kelly, who was a 4-year starter. Yeah. He's from Ohio, went down and played in Alabama. So defense will probably carry him for a while until Kiffin gets them rolling again. So they're definitely gonna be another tough out again.
Yeah, I agree with that. And just looking at LSU also, definitely a solid squad, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And those games are always big when you get down to those LSU and Alabama games.
I think LSU, if they can get average quarterback play this year, is the best team in the country.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, they're definitely.
Publications agree with you.
Yeah, I think they're just loaded defensively. Skill-wise, they got a Heisman Trophy candidate, Leonard Fournette, in the backfield. The wide receivers are, they're pros, and then they got all their linemen back. So if Harris can get it done at quarterback, they have a real good chance of running the table and getting in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said
they have Alabama at home also.
Yeah, definitely. Schedule-wise, it's looking favorable towards them too.
So you said Tennessee in the East.
Tennessee, I think Tennessee is probably the team to beat in the East. A lot of people are talking about them. They return a lot of. I can't remember the number of starters off the top of my head. George, you might know. But this is the year. This is their year. They keep talking. This is the one.
17, by the way.
Coming back. 17 starters coming back.
Wow.
From a team, and they got a lot of experience in the skill positions. With Dobbs at quarterback and good stable running backs. So yeah, they got a very favorable schedule too, getting a lot of their tough games at home, and then they got Florida at home early. They got Alabama. And they got to go to Georgia.
The only 2 you got on the road really that looks tough are Georgia and Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And South Carolina, if you consider them, but I have them last. I've never put them last in my life.
South Carolina, Steve Spurrier knew something. He got out, and they did not replace him with a very good head coach. I don't think in Muschamp.
I was just reading that he's still he's back at Florida doing the stuff there.
Yeah, I read something about that the other day too.
Yeah.
So
now, how do you think? The only thing I have to bring up about Tennessee, and I marked this off, second stringers. I don't know if that matters to you, but they've already lost 4 of them since training camp opened. Wide receiver, center, tackle, and one of their kickers. Does that bother you guys with the depth? I mean, I would think so.
I think definitely in the SEC you got to have some depth, and that's why Alabama's always so strong, especially defensively. They can go 3 deep on their defensive line and not drop a bit.
Yep.
So that definitely would be worrisome, back in Tennessee a little bit.
Well, I think one of the things with Tennessee is they lost so many games, like either
close
right at
games.
the end of the game or just close games last year. That's gonna bode well with them as far as experience wise.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to pull these games off.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think about Georgia?
Georgia going to be interesting this year. New coach Kirby Smart coming over from Alabama. Defensive coordinator.
Only
there.
one thing I have to say about it is the quarterback, and unless is Lambert, the transfer, picks it up, is the number one rated quarterback, but he's a freshman.
Yeah, the Eason kid.
Jacob Eason.
Yep.
So are you worried about the freshman starting? Cause,
I would definitely be worried about it, especially in that conference.
Yeah.
And that gauntlet they have to run through. I would definitely be worried about that. But the one good thing is they have a lot of their linemen back as well, off the top of my head if I remember right. They're missing their two stud running backs probably at the beginning of the year, but they'll eventually get back in there with Chubb and Michelle. Defensively, they're always pretty good. It seems like Georgia always stumbles somewhere. And it's just they can never get over the hump, and basically it costs Rick his job.
Yeah.
So.
Well, who does Georgia open up with this year? I mean, for the last
they got North Carolina
for the last couple of years. They've had I think it was last year it was Clemson, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So they had right out of the gate.
Yeah.
They weren't pulling any punches.
Right.
It wasn't the Talladega Tech, and let's see if we can get triple
Oh,
figures.
Billy, that was 2 years ago.
Okay.
Time is flying, buddy.
Oh my God, yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
But Chubb is he predicted not to be starting right away?
I think he's still working his way back from that ACL.
Okay.
I think they're looking at him maybe to get back going when SEC play starts. I think that's what I'm read a little bit about.
Michelle's got a problem too, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's hurt too. So they're both not going to start at the beginning of the year.
He's going to be held out of contact for a while.
And a good running game is the best friend of an inexperienced quarterback,
especially a freshman quarterback. So you're not kidding. Who do you guys see as someone maybe just surprising everybody? A team that is just going to come out of left field in the SEC that will stand out and maybe shock some teams. The way Ole Miss and Mississippi State were doing
a few years back.
I don't know if this is much of a shock, but I have Auburn up in like third place in the whole 14. So, is that really a shock? I don't know.
I mean, they definitely have talent, and they run an offense that if it gets rolling, it gets tough to beat. I mean, Texas A&M could be. They got a favorable schedule, and then they have the transfer Trevor Knight from Oklahoma coming in.
Yeah.
The quarterback for them. Which is experience in big games and things like that. So they could sneak in. Not a big fan of Kevin Summerlin really as a coach, but they have talent. I mean, they got a stable full of players.
I think Georgia hit that one on the head. Besides Auburn and just the normal heavies that you have there, I think.
I'm trying to look one down my sheet here. I mean, the national media believes Kentucky, but I really don't. I haven't dipped into it that big.
I just don't think Kentucky's got the Jimmies and Joes to hang with all those guys. So.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, no matter who you are, once conference season starts, every week, you got to roll up your sleeves and know that, and that, I think that might be a real problem for Tennessee if they're already losing second string players.
Right.
Because you're going to dip into there. So at some point or another, they're going to get playing time.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. When we talked about Alabama, too, probably being the favorite, their schedule is brutal. They play all the leading teams. I think Ole Miss, LSU, Tennessee, and I think Georgia all on the road.
Yeah, and those early games.
USC is in Arlington.
Yeah, USC's in the.
Yeah, those early games, especially down there in the Southeast. That heat index, and those guys really, really start fading fast.
Yeah.
And you see it. I mean, there's the cramping, and then there's guys who are just simply exhausted. But it is what it is. I would not want to have to compete in that conference year after year.
No, it's.
But that if you can produce, if you can win, if you can knock off a couple of heavyweights, all eyes are focused on you, and you can make it that invitation.
Yep.
All right. Well, George, we're at the quarter hour, so we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we'll get back into the NCAA football rankings.
We're going to go with the Pac-12.
All right. Thank you. Now we're talking here. All right. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Stay tuned. Southern Nevada Sports News comes to you from WorldwideDigitalBroadcastingCorp.com. music to cue in. Here, we are back for round 2. Southern Nevada Sports News, coming to you from the Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corp.com. My name is Bill Miller, co-host along with
Jeff Belknap.
And
Brett Price.
And on the phone,
George here.
There you are. All right, Georgie. Welcome back. And we were at round 2, and it is time to delve into one of the glamour conferences. Always misunderstood.
We're not doing the best Big Ten yet.
Touche.
Okay.
But it's time for the Pac-12. George, lay it on me, buddy.
We talked earlier, but I changed my mind.
Oh.
I was trying. Your check never got to me on time, so I can't pick UCLA. I'm just going to go with a 4-bagger that, or 5 actually to flip. No, yeah, 5. UCLA, Washington, USC, Stanford, and Oregon. I can't pick them apart. I liked UCLA until I just actually on the break I'm looking. They have 2 freshman kickers, punter and place kicker, and that put them down a little bit. So I love Rosen. I love their receivers. I love their defensive backs, but and they have 10 players back on defense. So
yeah,
I don't know if that's enough to carry UCLA. Without really a running back that you know about yet, but if they mature quick, and they're going to have to because they go to Texas A&M the first game, and then they play UNLV in UCLA, or at UCLA, pardon me.
That sounds like a road
trip. And
then
the gauntlet begins in the Pac-12, which is just as difficult in some ways as the SEC.
Well, first, George, kickers are people too. Don't forget that.
They're what?
I say kickers are people too.
I didn't say that he was. They're not, but they're freshmen. They get out there. You know?
I'm already getting just a flash of a game coming up where I'll be saying 32 yards for the win.
Wide right.
Oh my God! I can see it now. I hate leaving a game to a kickers. No offense.
But he was 3 for 3 in the spring game, so you got that going for you.
Yeah, so he's already okay. Well, but anyway, we talked a bit about the recruiting process, particularly in Southern California, between USC and UCLA, and I frankly felt that USC will always have the advantage in recruiting when it comes to football. And that and that UCLA would probably have the advantage when it comes to just about every other sport, basketball, baseball. I remember growing up that USC program. This was when Rod Dato was the old coach there, and they were always a perennial national favorite, and they're just cranking out pro after pro. But over the years, I still see USC will always succeed when it comes to recruiting in football. The case for USC is whether or not this is in fact going to be a coach that's going to stick around for 3 or 4 years. The drama over the last few coaches has just been unbelievable.
Yeah, it's.
I never even heard of this new coach, and I mean he was there last year for USC.
Helton. He's been around on the staff for a little while, and I mean it's kind of the players kind of went to rally for him to get the job.
Yeah.
Then he got the interim last year after Sarkisian's problems, and then players went and rallied for him, and they still had a little bit of a search for the new coach, and they went with him, and then all the problems with the ADs there and things like that. I just think there's a lot of stuff going on at USC, and it's not all good.
Yeah, it's really become like drama central. And I think here's my thing with Sarkisian, and I'll be brief on it. I felt that, the guy probably reached out to them, that he had some problems, and I think that their choice was to, maybe nobody's paying attention, of course, until he, goes off at, the
alumni.
Yeah, the big annual Cardinal and Gold affair, which is like the Oscars as far as USC is concerned. And then it was suddenly the genie was out of the bottle. But I felt that he had a problem. I think it's just the way it was handled was poorly. Right. I think that they should have really just reached out to the guy and said, hey, look, we'd like to get you help. Football be damned. Let's get you help. It was like they couldn't get the guy out of there fast enough.
Yeah.
And then of course it was like became a 3-ring circus.
Right. I mean, you talk about SC. They're always going to have talent.
That's right.
Always going to have talent. It's getting it to come together. They're one of those teams that are going to look like world beaters one week and then be a 40-point favorite and lose to Stanford or something like that.
That happened.
It's just
before,
one of those. It's one of that did happen.
That did happen, yes.
So it's just one of those. They're one of those teams. They're hard to read, hard to get a pulse on them. But I mean, they're one of the teams. If they pull it together, they could win the Pac-12.
Well, it's certainly more parity in that conference than there has been over the last few years.
Absolutely.
Especially the North. The North this year is loaded.
Yeah, absolutely.
Loaded with really good teams.
USC didn't get any favors. They got Alabama, Utah State, and Notre Dame, and the whole Pac-12. That doesn't look like any.
If I remember right, George, I think Phil had SC's schedule as the toughest schedule in the country.
I don't know.
I know it starts out pretty tough.
Yeah.
Pretty tough. They go to Alabama, and then I think they're at Stanford a couple weeks later. So
they have
it's going to be a tough way to start.
Tough road.
SC.
Oh, okay. Alabama, Utah State, and then Stanford.
Ooh.
And
Yeah,
Utah.
at Stanford. Yeah.
2.5 on the road if you count Arlington as a neutral game with Alabama.
I think that's probably going to be
Just
about
go ahead and lay the wood on that
90-10 Alabama to SC.
Okay.
Are you giving your week one prediction right there?
I will see. I'm going to disagree with you, Brett, because SC fans are hams. This is an opportunity for them to be on TV, national TV. They'll travel.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe more like 80-20.
Maybe 80-20. Yeah, that could be easily maybe 80-20.
Well, my Pac-12 prediction, I'm going to take Stanford as well as a champion, and Oregon's always going to be there. UCLA might be able to slip in there, but SC, if you look at their mid-season schedule, gets a little weak, so they might be able to pull it together before they play Notre Dame.
I'm going to go with somebody different. I'm going to go with Washington.
Washington is tough.
I like
do like
Washington. I like
Really?
the defense they got coming back. Really, really good defense. They broke in some young kids last year with Browning at quarterback and some receivers. They really started playing really well at the end of the year, and I like their coach. I like they're well coached, and I like their schedule. Their schedule's good. They got Stanford up at home, and they got SC up at home. I think they got to go to Washington State, which Washington State's they're a tricky team. I'm telling you, they're a sleeper team.
And against Washington is for pride.
Yeah.
Yep, it's an Apple Cup game, and when you got Leach, they're going to score. You better be able to score on them.
I noticed nobody mentioned Oregon, which has almost been like the darling of the Pac-12 the last 6 years, going back to the Chip Kelly days.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see Oregon fitting into this season?
I got them at right. I mean, it's a flip of the coin. It's up to this Prukop, the quarterback, and they always perform well, of course. But
I have them at
they
over.
have defense. They only have 5 back on defense, and their defense isn't that good to begin with.
No, they gave up a lot last year.
They gave a lot of points.
I mean, they usually have a lot of good athletes, and I think they're very average coaching wise now with Helfrich. So
43 to 38 last year, by the way. That's their offense to defense.
Yeah,
that's a lot of shootouts.
Yeah, a lot of shootouts. I mean, they're always going to be tough at Autzen Stadium. They're always going to be a tough team to beat at home, but they're not that invincible team when they come to your place with all that speed.
That outside of the conference, I just noticed a few. If you punch them in the mouth a few times, and they start slowing down a little bit.
Yep. And another thing, they lost their offensive coordinator in Frost, which is probably going to be a big loss for them too. So,
didn't they lose their offensive coordinator a couple years ago? Chip Kelly.
Yeah, that's a big loss.
Still put up 43 points a game. I think their system is set up to succeed for a lot of players, and I think you're right as far as the overs go. I mean, they're the team that I always look at the over and kind of check out their totals.
For sure.
You're right. Defensively, they're not going to play well. But I do like your Washington. Or so are you saying the Washington's going to pull off this?
I think
conference?
Washington. That is my pick for
Okay.
the Pac-12.
Okay, so we got
Just strictly,
Stanford, Washington.
I like them having Stanford at home.
So we did get you right, George. You got Stanford coming out of that conference.
No, I got a call. Yeah, I probably do. Thing Washington, I just noticed, and this is not conference, but Rutgers, Idaho, and Portland State at home is not like you know what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
not quite. And then they play Arizona the next. So, I mean, that's fine, but if they're not 3-0, then they really need to go somewhere.
There they will. They'll be going to Arizona.
I definitely think the winner of the Pac-12 is out of the North, though. Definitely.
Well, I'm going to hang my hat on the Bruins.
That's a shocker.
Okay, yeah. Well,
Well,
and
they go out on a limb.
I'll be the first to admit a lot of it is from the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
I
But
disagree, Billy. I think it is a good pick.
It is a good
except
pick.
You
I
may
agree.
lose with the foot, and I'm not. That's whatever. The two freshman kickers scares the crap out of me. But the rest of this team, their defense turns. It's intact from last year. It's
And they have a Heisman candidate at quarterback. So
Yeah.
well,
If
George,
they can replace Perkins at running back with somebody that's decent, who knows?
you know, I really first of all, I love the coaching at UCLA.
Yeah.
You know, I think that it's been stable, and the recruiting has only increased over the last few years, and that I think that is leading them to last year. I think they surprised a lot of people, and I've always I never want to jinx anybody, but I truly believe that I think the Bruins are going to win the Pac-12, and I think it'll be they'll squeak by. And I think, but they'll win the Pac-12, and then we'll see where they go from there. Georgie, we would really like for you to stick around,
Please.
if you will, and
That's
because
okay.
we would really
Walker
like to get into the Big
that's
Ten in the next segment. So we're going to take our bottom of the hour break, and then after that, we'll see whether we're going to take a break or not. But when we come back, it'll again be NCAA football coming up, and we'll be getting to the Big Ten Conference, which definitely for 3 of the 4 people on today's hosting the show, I think it's near and dear. We'll be right back. Southern Nevada Sports News coming to you from Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corp.com. Nevada Sports News come to you from Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corp.com here in Las Vegas, Nevada. My name is Bill Miller, along with
Jeff Belknap.
and Brett Price.
George Mish.
all right, and it's round 3, and we are covering NCAA football predictions for the upcoming 2016 season, and we are now Big Ten territory. And since we've got 3 Midwesterners here on the panel, me being from Los Angeles, I guess it's about time.
Yep.
So this time, Big Ten, I'd like to go first, if you don't mind.
Sure.
All right, George. Thank you. Now the pressure's on. After last year, I think that Michigan surprised a lot of people, and I really think them. Speaking of maize and gold. Maize and blue, right? And I think that Michigan is going to surprise, and I think Michigan is going to win the Big Ten title.
How can I
There
even
goes that
question
trip
that?
out there. Okay.
Well, considering they got 4 returning linemen, a good back in Devontae Smith, a quarterback. They got 2 good quarterbacks, actually. They got a junior that's might be able to win some reps, and then the guy O'Corn from Houston. I think we got 3 probably the most talented wide receivers in the Big Ten. Butt came back, which was actually kind of a shocker to me. I thought he would go into the draft last year. But defensively, Jameel Peppers, probably the biggest
Best player in the Big Ten, I think.
could be possibly in the country. But we'll see how he ends up playing out. And, with Harbaugh, just having these guys believe that they can win is a big step. And that in a cupcake schedule, it always helps.
Yeah, I'm not going to agree that they're going to win the Big Ten.
Of course you're not.
But, yeah, they definitely got the talent, coaching.
Yeah.
They got everything set in place, to make that run at the Big Ten. Their schedule, not bad, like you said. They got a few road games. They got to go to Michigan State. They got to go to Iowa, and they got to go to Ohio State. So those are 3 tough games, in someone else's stadium. And it's basically going to come down to the quarterback play again for them. Rudock last year really stepped up, being the fifth year guy he was, which helped that he had played in the Big Ten, previous 2 or 3 years at Iowa. Smart guy, good quarterback for Harbaugh in his first year to have. Now, it's almost a little bit like what I said about LSU. If they can get manageable quarterback play, they have a chance to go to the playoffs.
Yeah. I think they got a chance at playoffs. What do you think, George?
No. The only you could flip a coin on Michigan and Ohio State. Michigan State, I'm sorry, my friend, just next year they'll be back, but they're even though a few people said that Michigan State is the best, I just without the quarterback right now, I don't see that. Although he beat Ohio State kind of. But I still feel Ohio State's the team to beat, and this is just replacing talent. That's all.
Well,
I think that Meyer is peed off about the game against Michigan State, where he just totally ignored Elliott the second half, and I don't think that's ever going to happen again in his lifetime. And I'm just going to go into the betting world. If it's still 6.5 at Oklahoma, Oklahoma minus 6.5. I wish I was out there, but I'm not, because I love that plus 6.5. And this is Homer, but I'm not. I don't. If I believe a team stinks, I just think they've replaced, and they got really the quarterback back who should have been starting all year last year,
Yep.
Barrett.
Yeah.
Which makes a difference. And Weber is looking good with Samuel, and they're going to be a lot younger. I know that, but I still think they're Michigan by next year with one more recruiting class. I think they'll be right up there, and then we're going to have some fun again. But I still think Ohio State's the best team.
Well, I think November 26th is going to could be battle of the unbeatens.
I honestly believe that I don't know if we'll win it at Oklahoma. This being so young that early in the year.
Yeah.
But by the time November 26th rolls around, we're going to be very experienced and playing at home. And I think Michigan will roll in there, maybe 2 in the country, undefeated possibly.
Beautiful.
I want to be there.
Beautiful.
Well, since it's in Columbus, you need to pick up the tickets. I'll buy the plane tickets. You get
I've
the game tickets.
already told our Coach Johnson, the head coach at Finley Prep, we do not schedule games on Ohio State, Michigan Saturday. So,
Is that your Christmas present?
yes, I'll take that every year.
That would
Very
be
good.
fantastic.
Very good.
Well, either way, it's going to be a good game, and I agree with you, George, on Michigan State. They have a lot to replace.
Yeah.
That's going to be very difficult with them.
Defensively, they'll be good.
But I just-
They'll be strong, but offensively, they're gonna struggle.
Yeah.
So
4 offense, 6 defense, and that's
then staying in
that's a tough road to hoe.
staying in the East, Penn State is going to be a different team without
better.
Hackenberg now.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to come back with a little bit more mobile quarterback. I love their running backs that they have. Defensively, they're always strong. Lost a few guys, on the defensive line, but they're always good defensively. They're not up with Michigan, Ohio State. I think this year they could, them and Michigan State are fairly in the same boat wise, but I think Penn State wins 7 games.
All right. Well, how about a
tough.
team that kind of shocked everybody last year, Iowa?
I like Iowa maybe to run the table again. Their schedule is so favorable.
Yep.
They have everyone at home. Every big game's at home.
Yep.
And I believe their away games against the Big Ten teams were like 6 and 30.
Purdue, Penn State, and Illinois.
Yeah, I mean they won like 6 games between the 4 or 5 teams in the Big Ten last year.
Well, I mean that was one of the issues about the way that the schedules the teams are set up, the conferences are set up, because obviously all the heavies are on one side, and then you got Iowa that's definitely turned itself around and being a better team. Nebraska could give them a little bit of a run.
I think Nebraska would be good.
I think they're going to be better this year. I'm interested to see what Lovie Smith does with Illinois. I mean it's
You gotta give him a little bit. You gotta give him a little bit of
There,
time.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think he'll be able to
change the attitude.
one being in Chicago, and coaching Illinois is going to be really huge because he's going to be able to get people to come to the school.
Yeah.
Which is going to be big. I mean, that's been one of the challenges of Illinois is when you're fighting against Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, the other big teams in the conference. It's harder to
Right.
get players. So I think he's going to be able to do a good job doing that.
Yeah.
Nobody mentions Wisconsin.
Wisconsin's always going to be Wisconsin. I mean, I think they're going to be down this year a little bit. So their schedule is very tough.
Starts with LSU and
yeah.
at Michigan State and at Michigan.
Yeah, they're
Ouch.
and,
Wow.
and
That's
Ohio
in the
State
first
rolls
5
up there.
games.
They don't dodge anybody out of the East this year, so they didn't get any favors that way. Like Jeff said, I think Nebraska is going to be a team to look out for in the West.
Yeah.
They lost a lot of close games last year. They got the return, Armstrong at quarterback, which is good. Second year under Riley, which is I think he's a good coach, different coach than what they've normally had. Between Solich and Pelini and things like that, he's just more laid back. But I think they could be a team that sneaks up and gets the West. But I have to lean towards Iowa just on the schedule alone.
Yeah.
So, and I think Northwestern's going to be down this year too.
Yeah. They'll be unfortunately the bottom dwellers.
So they're just
Mi-
it's just one of
Minnesota's
those. They
got a
won
lot
all
of-
the close games last year, getting 10 wins. Good coach. But I just one of those things. I think it evens out for them this year, where they'll be maybe a 6 and 16.
Yeah. Well, that in Minnesota is going to have a rough road this year.
Yeah, Minnesota will be decent. They get good quarterback play coming back, but again, they're a middle of the pack type of team. They'll play with some upper level guys for a half, and then they'll get wore out. So
Yep. Kind of like the Michigan wore him out on that goal line stand at the
Yeah.
end.
Somehow I just knew that was going to get mentioned.
Hey, I always throw that in there.
yeah,
That was
the
that was one
Big
of my
Ten's
favorite
loaded with a
coaches.
lot of good coaches, though. I mean, coaching in Big Ten is high level. With Meyer and Harbaugh.
Well, it's only gotten
France.
better.
Yeah,
and of course now the
Lovie
addition of
Smith
Lovie
coming
Smith,
in, so
in
yeah.
Illinois.
So, and I think
So what do you think about Rutgers? You think they can get a win this year? I mean, Howard, do you think that's going to be? I'm talking about a Big Ten conference.
Oh, hell no.
do they play Purdue? Because that's the only way.
Ooh,
No, they can't even get that.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think that Rutgers and Purdue are really bottom dwellers.
so they're going to just be cannon fodder
Yeah,
for the
exactly.
2016 season.
Then new
But
coaches in
the-
Maryland
the
and
pedigree of
Rutgers.
the
So
coach will down the road.
yeah,
I think they'll definitely improve as he
I
keeps
agree.
there. If he's as good as he was at Ohio State
yeah,
and
Ash with Chris
wherever he
Ash.
came from.
It's
what,
just gonna take a
Arkansas
little
before
bit,
That? Yeah,
so.
it's going to take him a minute.
And then the Maryland coach came from Michigan, the defensive coordinator, but he was
Dirk
with Urban
Anderson.
Meyer before that at Bowling Green. So I mean, he's got good pedigree.
So he's got that DNA
Yeah.
going for him.
Mhm.
Yeah, and he certainly has been mentored by some.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
in that area over there, New York for Rutgers, New York, New Jersey area, and the Maryland area, D.C. and Virginia, things like that. They should be able to grab some kids
Good
out
high
there.
schools.
Yeah.
Well, you
Was
would
that
think.
one Paramus or something? Paramus or started with a P. in New Jersey. They're very good.
Piscataway.
They got John
Pardon
Bosco
me?
right there. John Bosco is really good in New Jersey, year in and year out. You know, they're turning out probably 15 to 20 D1 kids.
And Rutgers has always had a tough time recruiting New Jersey kids. You know,
Well, when they had it going a little bit, you know, with Schiano, he was bringing all the Florida kids up. He was getting those Florida kids to come up there, and they were you know, competing in the Big East there. So
You know, speaking of, you know, you were talking about kickers earlier, George, and the freshman kickers, UCLA. So friends of the show, Pro Kick Australia,
yeah.
have literally littered the Big Ten with punters and
Oh,
kickers.
Yes, definitely.
So Cameron Johnson, we got
Cameron Johnson's a monster.
very
yep,
good.
we got Wade Lees from Maryland is the punter over there. We got the punter Daniel. I can't remember his last name, from Penn State. Is also has a Aussie punter.
Is the Michigan kid a
You
punter?
can say
The
his
Michigan
name. You're
kid,
better than
yeah.
I am. Pasquale
Yeah,
You
that's
didn't want to yeah. How come you didn't want to mention the Michigan Aussie punter?
well. Actually, Blake is no longer the punter, but they.
Oh,
they
I remember him from last year,
shaking.
though.
Well, how could you forget? I mean, he has the most memorable play
Yes,
in
he
history of.
Of
But,
Michigan State, yes,
Aussie
not in
rules.
Michigan.
You know, just a shout out to Pro Kick Australia.
That's
you know,
awesome.
Here, here.
they got
Yes.
LSU's kickers, Oregon State, Utah State.
awesome.
I mean, they're just getting all over the
Oh,
place.
yeah,
And,
and they were good too.
you know, John Smith down there and Nathan Chapman doing
Yeah.
a great job. You know,
They
bringing these
have.
guys up there. They were doing the last couple of weeks. They were doing an Eastern tour, and they were actually going to all these different schools that are having kicking camps with
Smart.
their punters.
Wow.
And it was
Not changing the subject,
Go ahead.
guys, but what you mentioned, the LSU kicker or punter?
punter.
Oh, because the kicker, who's one of the best in the country, I have him in orange on my book here, and he transferred somewhere out of the blue. He just got up and left from LSU. I don't know where the hell he went to. It's somewhere in here, but I don't. But that's kind of weird. And he was good. Dominique, or what is his name?
Yeah, the young kid.
Oh
He's
yeah,
no longer there.
remember that kid.
All
We're
right.
in the Big Ten, so that doesn't matter.
So to wrap up the picks for the Big Ten, George, Ohio State, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In a tight one.
Yeah. Brett,
I'm going with Ohio State as well.
Ohio State.
No brainer. Michigan, of course.
And, of course, yours truly, Michigan. All right.
And I honestly am looking forward, and what I really hope happens is that either one of these, the way it breaks down, either they go in undefeated or with one loss, and that game on November 26th actually makes you know, it's going to be the biggest basically game of the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, then you still got to win the following week.
Yeah, the championship.
You know,
Yep.
So makes it
Not
different.
easy.
No, not easy. Not easy at all.
That's not supposed to be either.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why we have the Sun Belt Conference.
That's why they
I was
play
just
the
kidding.
game.
George, we have time for one more conference to cover. It's your pick, buddy.
I take the Big 12. That's
All right, Big 12 it
Let's
is.
do it.
Who'd like to start it off?
Oh, you're ready to go. I thought there was a commercial.
Yeah, no more breaks, man. We're rolling.
No more breaks. Okay, this
Rolling.
is an easy one, and that's why I picked it, because it's getting late. Oklahoma, if they don't lose their quarterback, will wipe these people off the board. And if Mayfield goes down, because Mayfield there is absolutely not a pass, unless I missed something, that a backup quarterback has made in Oklahoma's history on their backups. If he stays healthy and upright, they're going to be great.
And that could be shaky too. You know, he plays. He's good because of the way he plays.
Oh,
Right.
I understand, but he's also crazy.
Exactly. He could easily get hurt, so that could be a curse the way he plays and a blessing
Yep.
the way he plays.
Yep.
So you exactly right. If he stays healthy, they're going to be tough to beat. But
And you can't really. The thing I was going to think about is you can't get a big lead on somebody and then relax or put somebody else in, because they start with Houston, who's still going to be good, and then they have Louisiana Monroe, and then Ohio State right after that, and then TCU and Texas right after that. So it's
yeah,
I don't see any route.
that's a tough first
maybe, but
their first 5 games.
there's not much time to break
Break
those
'em in.
back
No,
the other one.
not at all.
Well, and since you're right out of the gate, you mentioned Oklahoma, and that this is something that they should just simply dominate this year's Big 12. If they don't, is it time for Bob Stoops to move on?
I have a young lady who I have a few beers with, and her husband says that he should have been gone 2 years ago.
Really?
Yes. She does not like him at all. He's got a great record, 179 and 46, but that's not good enough for her for some reason.
Well,
She don't
during
like
that period,
anything
could they have been
to do with
considered underachievers?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. They looking back on some of his years, anytime that Oklahoma comes in highly ranked, they stumble around. They underachieve.
Right.
It has been the MO in the past. So I mean, they're going to be a top 3 team, 4 team this year. So we'll see. We'll see if the MO continues.
Do you guys consider 8 and 9 in bowls against? They've played probably very good competition in bowls, but that's his record in the bowl games.
That's not very good
Yeah.
for that talent. I mean, I know they're playing some good teams, but it is Oklahoma.
Yeah, and it's not a small football program
Right.
by any shape of the imagination.
So you're saying they make money?
Dang, they make money.
A lot of money.
And and I got to believe that given who their alumni are, and that this is as far as the state of Oklahoma is concerned, it's OU football.
Mm-hmm.
Even with Oklahoma State being who they are, it's still OU football. I just have to think that and now you're saying that given the talent they have, this should be their year as far as the Big 12 is concerned. What happens if it isn't?
Then I'd ride with TCU.
Yeah,
I like
agree.
TCU.
I like TCU.
I love
Defensively,
they got
they're going to be
Hill, who
really
came in
good.
from Texas A&M.
Yeah.
He sat out last year, and he's
Hill.
a good quarterback. 67%. That's good enough for me. And I like Patterson. I really like.
He's
him
really
since
really
Utah.
good. He's gonna. A lot of the things I've read is TCU. This is going to be their best defense they've had in a while, probably since the Rose Bowl team that went to the Rose Bowl and beat Wisconsin. They had a lot of guys that last year, but injuries really hurt them.
Yes.
And they're getting a lot of those guys back. So I think TCU. I believe they got Oklahoma at home. So
I can tell you.
that could
They
be
do have
an
it on
interesting
October 1st.
interesting way. I mean, for them.
That's going to be my pick is TCU for the Big 12. I like that team. I also like the fact that you mentioned their defense, and they can put points on the board. And as long as you've got that defense, and you're able to put any kind of points on the board, you should be able to really run roughshod over this
The only
team.
drawback they have, Billy, is that they only, although if you considered Hill, who's a transfer, they only have 4 offensive players coming back.
Right.
And they already lost their second-string running back, who averaged 10, and only 4.1. That's not great.
They might go back to the early Patterson years with winning with defense and special teams.
Which is good enough for me.
Yeah, I mean they're going to be good. And I think another team to look out for. I think Oklahoma State's going to be good.
They'll be better, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean they got an experienced quarterback, a lot of guys back on defense. Gundy's a good coach, I believe.
That would be my third pick.
Yeah, so I think they'll have a good year, and I think Texas is going to step up a little bit this year.
I like Texas.
What
So
about Baylor with all its conflict?
yeah, I was
I'll
about
tell
to
you,
say that.
a lot of people are really down on Baylor, but that talent's still there.
Yeah, they still have
It's,
a lot of beef.
it's still there, and
They're going to be hurt in a couple of years, but is I say his name, I hope right, Groby, is he going to be decent there
I don't think he'll be there after this year, personally.
after this? No.
Yeah, that's just my thought. I think
No, that
he's
makes-
just a Band-Aid, I think, right
they
now.
had to get somebody quick.
Yeah, and with a good reputation, But they're getting their quarterbacks back. And he's a pro. He's a high draft pick pro.
Right.
And they've recruited well. They've lost some guys, but they still got a lot of speed, and they don't lose at home.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we've got just a couple of minutes. So to recap the Big 12, George, your pick, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma all the way.
All right, Brett,
I'm gonna go with Oklahoma as well.
I can't deny that.
maybe. I guess I'm the only oddball out here, TCU.
Yeah.
Of course, I picked UCLA as well, but I got. Well,
But
listen.
may I interject one thing?
Absolutely, go ahead, George.
No, just I don't know if you're ever going to do your own conference, but I really believe Boise State has a chance to run everything
They're good.
and
For
be
sure.
undefeated going into
sure.
into whatever.
Love
And
them
they
first
have
week of the year. Love
playoffs
them.
to put them in a playoff.
Yep.
Well, the next time we all convene as a group, we get a chance to wrap up some of the other conferences, and we have to start, of course, with the Mountain West Conference.
Definitely. Yep.
George, thank you.
Sunbelt?
Well, absolutely.
No more weeks without football.
more.
For the next 29 weeks. That's so awesome.
All right.
George, thank you so much again,
no
man.
problem. And to Jeff, I have to say that your boy Draymond or whatever the hell his name
Oh
is,
my
he
gosh,
took
dude.
junk mail to the ultimate extreme this week.
I don't. How do you become my boys? What I'm trying to figure out.
Well, you know how
Aren't
that
you
works.
Michigan State?
When they
I'm
act
Michigan,
up,
man.
yeah,
Go
when they
Blue.
act up, they're your boy. You
That's
know?
right. It's like the kids. Oh, by the way, Keon finished 14th
Out of?
48. So
Nice.
didn't jump
Awesome.
his best, but he's a national.
And his
jumper,
first Junior
Yeah, his
Olympics.
first
Yep.
one, yeah.
Well done, Keon. Little K.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you again, George, for joining
call
us.
me when for this week, and we'll talk. And thank you all for letting me be on there. And to Beth, a nice lady.
She is.
I know.
Brett, thank you so much,
Oh,
man, again
thanks.
for taking time out of your schedule to come down and join us. We really appreciate it.
No
Go
problem.
Finley.
Go Finley Prep. Join us next Monday, August 8th, 6 p.m. to 7 Pacific Daylight Time for another installment of Southern Nevada Sports News coming to you from WorldwideDigitalBroadcastingCorp.com. Take care.
God bless.